There are a lot of questionable charities out there, we'll just say, and many of them in the video game industry, for some reason or another, seem to center around mental health because, let's be honest, that's one area that's so delicate that nobody ever questions it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. TakeThis.org is in a lot of trouble. A mental health advocacy group, a charity that has received funding from the Department of Homeland Security, don't even get me started how the DHS is involved with this, is in dire need of help. They are spiraling out of control, losing all their funding, don't have any money, and now they're turning to the very people that they've been attacking for years for handouts. You can't make this stuff up if you tried. And honestly, I'm here for it. Yet another win is in the cards for gamers right now. TakeThis.org is on the verge of going out of business, and they got no one to blame but themselves. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article talking about how TakeThis.org is looking for some handouts from people because they blew through $700,000 in governmental grants to pretend that there were issues in the gaming industry to try to justify their existence. And while that was working for a little bit, times have changed and reality is hitting them right in the face. TakeThis.org, the beyond controversial organization that's long portrayed itself as the mental health advocates in the gaming community, is on the brink of shutting down. This is, without a doubt, one of the most positive developments for the entire video game industry in years. The tide is turning. TakeThis.org took to Twitter asking for a handout because they have lost all their money because the DHS is just not there to grant them more funds. Almost like they shouldn't have been there in the first place, but let's not worry about the details. Take This on Twitter said, "We shared the news with our close community yesterday, and now we're sharing it with the public. Take This will shut its doors before the end of the year if we can't secure funding." The Dr. B's bittersweet and transparent blog post has the details. Oh my God, I am so heartbroken. This charity that was basically extorting the government for funds, pretending that there were issues behind the scenes in the video game industry and trying to make mountains out of molehills so that they could justify funding, is not getting funding anymore. And now they're looking for the community to give them money so they can continue to perpetuate issues in the game industry that don't exist. And a brief look through this very long letter from Dr. B, talking about why it's so sad that they don't have any money and they've written a plea for financial support and they're working hard to make up the gap, but they still need your help. Without your support, Take This and all of our impactful programs will cease to exist. And then they go on to talk about all these quote-unquote impactful programs, including but not limited to workshops telling people why gamers are evil, and how Take This staff has appeared on hundreds of panels and other media appearances. Again, reinforcing why the game industry is just so bad for your mental health and how there's just so many people in the game industry that are just so awful for you. I'm not going to mince my words here. TakeThis.org has long been a thorn in the side of gamers everywhere. Earlier this year, they infamously penned an article just crying about responding to Gamergate 2, blaming you, the gamer, about everything in the industry and the supposed problems underneath it. This article caused quite a stir when it first launched because it also, alongside many other people in the quote-unquote professional journalism games industry, linked to Alyssa Mercante's Sweet Baby Inc. Doesn't Do What You Think It Does article, perpetuating the errors in Gamergate 2, not recognizing that Chris Kindred, an employee at Sweet Baby Inc., tried to get Cabrutus canceled, tried to get him removed from the platform, and also tried to get all his games taken away from him. And gamers took issue with that because all Cabrutus was doing was putting a curated list of games together that Sweet Baby Inc. had worked on. And people at Sweet Baby Inc. took such issue with that they tried to cancel somebody. That was the epicenter and the start of Gamergate 2, but that was willfully and knowingly ignored by Alyssa Mercante of Kotaku and parroted by many other quote-unquote journalists in professional gaming to push a narrative and an agenda forward, a story that they wanted you to think was the truth instead of giving you all the information. And none of this is done by accident. All of these people all talk to each other. They all know each other. They all have backroom discords with each other and conversations with each other, and they get a story together and push it forward that benefits them. And anything that makes any of them that they're protecting look bad, they try to hide, they try to bury, they try to point fingers at anything other than themselves. And that's only one small part of this article. It goes on, stating the comical hate, harassment, and toxic behavior have no place in games. By taking direct, targeted action in a timely manner, we can mitigate further harm to talented, dedicated folks in games and help prevent additional recurrences of these harmful events. So their way to fight against hate and harassment and toxic behavior is to attack the very people that they're calling out.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
The reality is clear. Their rhetoric has always been more about pushing their divisive narrative than fostering any kind of genuine mental health support. Most of what I've seen is them perpetuating issues that don't exist in the game industry to try to secure additional funding to perpetuate this madness of a charity. They are the definition of a company that manufactures a problem in order to complain to the government to get more money to justify their existence. They've relied on playing the victim card, and it's been evident in this desperate plea for funding, painting themselves as the lone saviors against the so-called bad actors in the gaming community, attempting to convince you, the gamer now, to supplement their funding because the government, the Department of Homeland Security anti-extremism grant that was supposedly allowing researchers to develop resources to monitor extremist groups and then create workshops to prevent those groups from spreading, because apparently they were trying to pretend that there were extremist groups that were centered in the video game industry that were growing and becoming so toxic and horrible that actual tangible real world events were going to take place, and they needed to stop that, nip it in the bud before it grew too big. And the government was like, okay, if you guys say that there's a problem there, I guess we'll just throw some money at it. Maybe that'll fix it. Nearly $750,000 in a grant to supposedly fight anti-terrorism in gaming, which nobody's even proven to exist before, but apparently it doesn't matter. They'll just throw money at a problem that doesn't exist and hopefully it doesn't happen. Despite receiving the insane amount of funding, and they've blown through it with a ton of people that they employ at this place. I believe at last check, they have 12 people at this charity working on supposed program managers, clinical program, board chair, board treasurer, board secretary. These people that are just perpetuating the madness and inventing issues in the game industry to continue receiving a paycheck under the guise of, hey, we're doing it for charity. Just pay us some money because there's so many mental health issues in this country. Let's just fight it with some money and don't ask questions, because mental health people, you don't understand. You're not a doctor like we are. We know what's right for people. Their mission isn't about supporting the gaming community. It never has been. It's always been about pushing a self-serving agenda under the guise of mental health advocacy. And please, give us more money. I've gone through quite a few articles and everything that I've seen take this say over the years, and what I've found is a repeated trend showing that they're willing to go out of their way to demonize gamers, make you the enemy, paint us as the core problem rather than acknowledging the broader, more complex issues facing the industry. Their article on Gamergate 2 is just one of many examples of their approach, involving blaming gamers while sidestepping any meaningful or real actual dialogue, because God forbid these people actually have a conversation with the gaming community. It would expose them for all to see. And that's the last thing they'd want to see happen is, lifting the veil off this charity for all to see the underneath of what it actually is and how it has really very little, if anything at all, to do with what they say it does. On Twitter, they left their replies open, and you know what? Initially, I said that's a W, a rare W, because many of these places that are going through the issues right now in the turnover in the game industry are not leaving their comment section open. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, no. It's not a rare W. I shouldn't have said that because this is actually the type of company that continuously perpetuates the problem of playing the victim over and over and over again. And why they left their comment section open was to get more negative sentiment in order to prove it to people that the video game industry is just so filled with bad actors and horrible people. When in reality, people are just calling them out for what they are, and they're pretending to play the victim in hopes to get more money from people that don't understand. But to me, this charity is based upon a scammy foundation where they perpetuate a situation pretending there's a problem, trying to tell everyone how it's a problem and why they need money to fix that problem that at the end of the day, they invented. The gaming community was perfectly fine before they arrived, and after they go away, it's going to be perfectly fine again. And honestly, I look at this as a major win for all of gaming. Gaming and the world, in a way, is healing, with governments, in this case, not providing additional funding, stepping away, and just letting nature run its course. And while yes, I'm ecstatic to see that TakeThis.org is floundering and most likely will falter in the coming months, I don't want to rest on my laurels and just say, we won, it's over. This is just one battle in the war of many. And gamers are winning, but we can't relax because for every Take This that goes away, 3 or 5 more charities will pop up saying, hey, there's a problem over there with harassment, or the gamers are evil and bullying, and or sexist or misogynistic, or whatever they come up with just to get more funding. That's what these companies do. It's pathetic, it's embarrassing, and for a long time people were falling for it. Now we've wised up to it, but we can't relax. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, I go into a lot more depth in the smashjt.com article. I will link it in the description below. If you appreciate what I'm doing here and want to support me, no pressure, by the way, I do this regardless of whether you do it or not, feel free to hit that join button. I would genuinely appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
1 in 4 people will be diagnosed with a mental health condition in their lifetime, and yet we're still not talking about it. So we're dedicated to destigmatizing, making it okay to say, hey, I'm struggling.
Smash, change,